thank you all for coming out tonight. You know, the weather's getting warm and everybody probably has cabin fever, but I gotta tell you something, the fish are biting. Anyway, again, thank you very much for coming out. And what I like to do is I'm not gonna stand up here for an hour, hour and a half, however long y'all wanna stay and talk. But I like to get some interaction. You know, you got questions. As we go along, just holler at me, raise your hand, do whatever. Be glad to try to answer any questions you got. And now, where I'm at in my life, I love to help people. And that's why, one of the reasons why I'm here. Where do you all like to fish the most? Private lakes, residential lakes, Pickwick, Tennessee River impoundments? Give me a show of hands. Private lakes, residential lakes. Okay? Yeah, don't be shy, you know. Tennessee River. All right. Corps of Engineer impoundments, Sardacina, Grenada. Oxbow Lakes. Okay. Give you a hint. One, early spring, the worst places you can go is the Oxbow Lakes. Reason being is the Mississippi River rises at that time. Any rise in the river affects any of those Oxbow Lakes. And a rise, and the way it affects it is that you don't catch any fish. I mean, it's just, that's what happens. What happens is those fish start to move out into all the different covers. They're moving out. You can't go and pattern them or do any of that or find them where they're schooled up. Your best places to go now are your Tennessee River impoundments or private lakes, residential area lakes if you go. If you're going to a Tennessee River impoundment, Pickwick, Kentucky Lake, or Wheeler, or Wilson, any of them, the number one bait you should have tied on right now is an umbrella rig. Okay? And everybody knows what an umbrella rig is, right? Well, real simple. The bait here that I really like. It's that bait right there. It's 3.5 inches, and that's as big of a bait as I'll use. Shad colors, good. Just use any shad color, something different in the middle. I like to use at least 50-pound braid. Most of the time, I'm using 65-pound test braid, just because if I get hung up, I can go and pull and straighten this hook out and get it loose. I also recommend getting these A-rigs or umbrella rigs, whatever you want to call them, with spinners. They have some out here with the spinners, with both gold and silver. It makes no difference. I think a lot of it has to do with the color of your water. If your water's got a little bit of stain in it, then you're going to go with gold, but typically silver. One of the things I also noticed that they have here for these umbrella rigs, they also have the 3-wire bait. In the state of Tennessee, you can only have 3 of your baits with hooks on them. You can use a 5-arm bait, but 2 of them's got to be dummies. Okay? Now people say, well, how are you going to rig that up and make sure they eat the one with the hook on it? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the 2. I'm going to go and throw my rig out, and I'm going to see how it pulls through the water. If it pulls like this, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my top 2 baits here, and I'm going to bite off about 1/2 inch. That way you have 3 hooks on the bottom. Those are the hooks that are going to catch them. Make sure you don't do anything with the middle arm though. That's how you go and use it. This is a medium heavy rod. I like to use a reel that'll hold quite a bit of line. Let me say something about reels. I don't care what brand you use, but on an umbrella rig, you want to use a low ratio reel. You know what I'm talking about? A 5.1 to 1 or a 5.4 to 1. The biggest or ratio reel I'll use is a 6.4 to 1. You don't want to drag that thing real fast through the water. Go slow. Most of the times I'm using a 1/16 of an ounce. Couple of reasons. One, it doesn't wear me out. If you fish this thing all day, it's going to wear you out. Two, you can fish it slower with lighter baits and catch more fish. Like here, and one of the things that I do is I'll rig all of my umbrella rigs with the 4-ounce sidearms with the same color bait. The one in the middle, I'm going to use something a little bit different, or I might even dye the tail of that. Typically, that's the one that they'll eat first. How do you store that thing in a boat? Because it's just kind of like this, right?
Rigs that we sell here in the shop. This is something I showed Joey years ago. He puts a split ring right there at the top of the head.
That's right.
You pull it down, compacts it right down for you.
Nice.
So you don't have to go find something.
That is an excellent way to do it. Get a big split ring and do that. Surface temperature in most of the area lakes is in about the mid-40s. It was down in the high 30s, low 40s here a week ago during the ice, but it's warmed up. Once the water gets to about the mid-40s, fish are going to start moving. A couple of ways that I like to catch them is I'm still not into the reaction bite mode yet. But what I'll do, a Ned rig right now. And that's my go-to bait now. I don't care what time of the year, but especially this time of the year. Does everybody know what a Ned rig is? I see a few hands. It's really a phenomenal bait. And why is it so good? I'm not quite sure. It is a do-nothing bait. You don't have to move it much. There's several ways to fish this bait. First thing, throw it out, let it go to the bottom. Take your time. It's going to be not real fast. Once it gets to the bottom, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can kind of jiggle along like that, pull it up from 10 to 11 o'clock slowly and let it sit. And then from 11 to 12 and let it sit. And then I just crawl it along the bottom for a little bit, then I stop it. When I stop it, what's going to happen to that thing? Boom! And it'll quiver there. A lot of times that's when they're going to eat it. And there's nothing wrong with letting it sit for 5 to 10 seconds out there. If you're fishing private lakes right now, residential lakes, Pickwick, they're catching them right there on this bait right here or the umbrella rig. That's the two baits. Okay, I'm going to pass one around so everybody can see what the hook looks like. And that's it. Now, I have people all the time saying, oh yeah, I know what that is. I'll fish one of them. I take me a Senko or I take me a Yum Dinger or something and I bite it in half and I put it on a jig head and I fish it. Well, yes, it'll catch a fish. But no, it's not the same as this. This particular bait, which is made by Z-Man, the bait itself is made out of Liztech, plastics. It's a weird kind of plastic. See the size of that? That's 2 3/4 inches. Hand broke yet, hasn't it? When I'm using this bigger bait, I like to use, this is a medium heavy fast action rod, and that's what I like to use. Now, if I'm fishing real muddy water, I'm going to find a bait that has chartreuse for my top blade there. And I'm going to use a gold Colorado or Indiana blade because it gives out much more vibration and you can slow it down. Exhaust vibration, your spinners. Your skirt gives it something to look at, but you also, using a trailer gives you more vibration and it's going to give you a better chance of catching a fish. Okay? How many of you use a trailer hook on a spinner bait?
Yeah.
How do you rig it?
Just mount it behind with a piece of tubing, small tubing up behind it.
So you slip it on,
Yep, there's a piece of tubing that goes
then you
behind
put a piece of tubing on so it doesn't come off. So it kind of does this, right?
it free flows. It sits loosely enough.
Right.
But it gives it enough action to where it doesn't go over the hook.
And it'll work. If you're fishing around heavy cover, okay? I'm going to show you, I'll give you a tip. If I'm using a swim bait, typically I will not use a trailer hook. But if I am missing some fish and I've got to use a trailer hook, got a little curl tail grub, take my trailer hook, bring it down, bring my eye in, take my bait,
Hook it through your trailer.
Nice. One of the things that over the years, you know, everybody's used different kind of hooks. Here's a tip I'm going to give you. All of a sudden here several years ago, the craze was extra wide gap hooks. And you ought to use it for everything. For anything that's like a worm or like a brush pig that's slender, just use you a regular worm hook and not what they call an EWG hook. You're going to catch more fish and you're not going to hang up as much. One of the things I've done is I've gotten away from what they call the J-bend hooks.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. And the reason is I feel like I got a better chance with that much gap and that J-bend doesn't get out of the way. So I use a grip pin hook of some type, and there's quite a few different ones on the market. Just using these grip pins like this, it's pretty amazing. It saves your bait too, and it doesn't pull down. What I want you to do is I pass this around. That's it. It's been a lot of fun. If you ever see me on the water, feel free to come out and say hi. I'm also on Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 on the second and fourth Saturday morning of every month.
What time?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh, they get up early.
Yeah, it's pretty early. However, for those of you that like to sleep in, just go to lroutdoors.com and we download our shows onto that.
So I wanted to thank Ron tonight for coming out and spending some time with us. This is the kind of people that we're trying to bring in, and we want to continue to bring in more and more guys like this to come out and see you and talk about different things. So thank you, Ron.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.